This is a Paper Sailor production. Today, we are going to learn how to care for a tiny boat. First, you haul the tiny boat out of the water. And you put it on a tiny little pair of jack stands and then realize that they don't fit. Oops. You try to repair the tiny bit of damage, but for some reason it's just not working. But you try to even make tiny little scaffolding, but you just give up on that. Anyways, so gather a bunch of materials, which is way more materials than that tiny boat needs, such as spray paint, OSPO, varnish, brushes, gloves, sandpaper, screwdriver, rags, all for that tiny boat. Next, you prepare your surface and realize you don't have any newspaper, so you use a beer bottle thing, not a sponsor, and you pull off the tiny sail. And then you look at pulling off the tiny little rusty keel. Next, you look at the damage of the rusty keel, and you prepare to fix it. First things first, some sandpaper. I use a little bit of 100 grit, and then once I get all the rust off, I use 220. Shiny again. Next, I prime the tiny keel with a little bit of OSPO. Allow that to dry. Now for paint. While I allow the one side to dry on the keel, I start to sand the hull of the tiny boat. 100 grit, a little bit of 220. Remove all dust. Paint the tiny boat's bottom. And time to do the other side of the keel. Next, it's time to carefully remove the tiny sail. And you want to store that tiny sail in a tiny sail loft, like an Altoids box. Again, not a sponsor. Now to remove all the tiny little lines and halyards off the tiny little spars. And prepare those for finish. Next, you prepare your surface to put primer on your boat. And you allow that to dry. And you can put a second coat on if you wish. No need to sand in between coats if it's soaked all the way through. Now you prepare to put a name. Like a true sailor, I'm not going to change the name, so I keep it as the name of a sea flea. If the name doesn't go on the transom, you should put the name on both sides of the boat. She's ready for paint on the hull. What color to choose? I guess I'll choose orange. Sometimes it's good to paint the end of your spars too. Now allow that to dry and seal the tiny little boat. You can put 2 coats if you'd like. and allow that to dry. Now to put the tiny little boat back together. She's ready for launch day. Of course, take pictures of your boat for all your social media friends. And celebrate with launch day. You try not to run aground. You realize you didn't put the water line in the right place. But that's okay, there's always mishaps. Congratulations! Now to sail into the sunset. Please visit papersailor.com to learn more about Accidental Sailor Girl.